If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J. this morning, Lauren Cohen.
That person, that caller said, that person.
The Amy J. replacement.
I'm the Amy J. replacement.
She has a
Just
name, people.
Amy will be back.
Lauren, of course, you know her from Fox Chicago, from WLS, from stage. You've done some stage work.
I'd like to.
Some runway work.
I
You've
wish.
seen her all over the place.
I wish I've done some runway work. Not tall enough.
We've talked about federal elections and talked a lot about the Kavanaugh confirmation saga and the impact on the federal races with control of Congress hanging in the balance. President continuing to prosecute that case last night in Iowa. But it also, as we've mentioned over the last couple of days, and polling that I've done, so I know, has had an impact at the state and local level. It's also narrowed the enthusiasm deficit that Republicans face in Illinois. Now, there's still a deficit. And it's also turned a lot of independents off of Democrats. And there's all kinds of other reasons at the state level that independents should be turned off of Democrats, based on, I don't know, their performance in power over the last, say, half a century. But that hasn't seemed to be enough lately. So the question is, how can Republicans at the local level capitalize on some of the momentum that's been generated at the national level to perhaps offer some surprises and make some gains in terms of political office in this state? Well, one way is by exposing some of the same chicanery, self-dealing, a lack of integrity that the Democrats are practicing at the state and local level. And one such instance may be in the state comptroller's race. We'll explain to you what the comptroller's office actually is in a moment. But Susana Mendoza is the incumbent comptroller. And after Chuy Garcia, here's the intersection of the Chicago mayor's race, after Chuy Garcia announced that he's not going to run after all, he's just going to sit in that seat that El Gallito left for him. The question is, well, who's going to be the quote-unquote Latino candidate in the mayor's race, since there isn't a prominent one at this point? And so Mendoza's name has been rumored about a lot lately, and I assume that's mostly rumors being propagated by Mendoza. So do you want to vote for somebody at the statewide office who's just wants to get through one election so she can vacate and pursue another election?
Isn't that the Chicago way?
Well, it is, but I don't know. Maybe people are not so keen on that anymore. Don't tell Bill Daley. I don't know. And don't tell Susana Mendoza, apparently.
I feel like that's like the scenario with so many things, and yet people keep electing the same people, in Chicago and in the state. It never changes.
Well, I know. We have these elections.
Hand me a tissue, would you? Because I'm crying over
here. Well, look, we're having this election anyway. Right, it's going to happen anyway. So maybe if we do some things differently and we message properly and we frame the races in a compelling fashion, maybe people will decide that they've had enough of one party and, frankly, more or less one-man rule.
Hope, Dan.
Hope springs eternal. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Darlene Senger. She is the Republican nominee for Illinois State Comptroller, and she's also a former state legislator in Illinois. Darlene, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
So you know the lay of the land as not just the candidate this time, but as somebody who served in the Illinois General Assembly. So explain to us what your opponent, Susana Mendoza, is doing and why that's important.
Well, what she's doing right now is that she's failing to commit to the people of Illinois to say, hey, if elected as comptroller, I'll serve you for 4 years. And, both sides of the aisle agree we are in a fiscal mess. I mean, there's no question at all. As you were just talking about, the same old with Democrats. There's been years of tax and spend. People are leaving the state. We have a lot of work to do, and Mendoza, which again is your typical style of Chicago politics, she won't commit that she's not running for mayor. In fact, right out of the gate after Rahm said he's not running, she was at City Club event, and her question came up, And she pretty much said, I think I could be great in any job I do. I would never run for an office if I didn't think I was the best person for that office. Right now I'm running for comptroller. I don't even want to talk about the mayor's race, frankly, until after November. So I find that to be very disingenuous, to say, hey, vote for me for comptroller. In the meantime, I'm going to be spending your tax dollar for my salary to run for mayor.
You have a little experience with Susana Mendoza prior to this campaign because she also was a member of the General Assembly. What else should people know about Mendoza?
She's very much touting out of all the good work and everything she's done as a comptroller in the state of Illinois, saying all this good transparency and so on and so forth. She's knowing her and being in the General Assembly and knowing how Madigan works in the State House, she is definitely a puppet of Madigan, no question at all. She's voted for every tax increase, voted for pension holidays. And she's still doing that again today. She's using that comptroller office as a bully pulpit to bash, particularly the governor.
You're a suburbanite hailing from Naperville. I've often said, because the math demands it, that if the Republican Party is not the party of the suburbs, suburban cook and the collars, not going to be a majority party in Illinois. It's just as simple as that. And so, despite what has happened to this state, the worst governed state in the history of America, in the bottom of every financial stability measure, we seem to continue to be losing ground in places like Naperville, in places like DuPage County. Why do you think that is, and how does that get reversed?
And that's part of why I'm running for comptroller is people need to get their heads around really the significance of our financial mess right now. And the suburbs, people are busy. It's good we have programs such as yours to get the word out, but we really do need to get in people's hands the amount of debt burden we have on us. And if people understood it, I think they may pay a little more attention, but there's no question suburbanites need to wake up. Basically every taxpayer right now in the state of Illinois, if you look at the financial burden, including the unpaid liabilities for pensions and healthcare costs, is $50,000 per taxpayer. So I really like to, knock on doors to say, hey, do you have $50,000 to bail the state out? And I think that's what's going to take, and that's what the comptroller function should be, to get that out.
What I find is interesting, and you talk about the math, and I'm all about the math, is that, people know their pocketbooks. They know their property taxes are high. They know they're being squeezed with, practically what's left to tax, but the air that we breathe, and yet they vote the same way. And, you mentioned people, people are busy and they maybe not understand. You would think by now people would understand the simple mathematics of where we are with the pension debt and how it's translating to taxes. And yet the same people keep getting elected and the status quo remains the same, and no one challenges Madigan. And I just don't. And I'm not even taking a Democrat-Republican side here. I'm saying just simply the public out there, when everybody's complaining, oh, my bills or this, and that, and they're just not changing when they go to vote.
And here's some good news. I'm seeing this for the first time. I was elected to the State House in 2008, and we were trying to get the word out that Madigan was the problem. The good news is people do understand Madigan is the problem. They're just still not connecting hey, when you go to vote and you vote for someone who's a Democrat, you're voting for Madigan. And that needs to get out there. But I'm seeing that everywhere when I'm out in, downstate, particularly in the suburbs. And I've been to a lot of events. I said, Susana Mendoza is basically a puppet of Madigan, and they're like, yeah, we get it. We need to get Madigan out there. So that's being understood. I just wish people would wake up and say, hey, don't, like I said, don't keep repeating the craziness of having the effect, like the Democrats that keep putting us in the hole.
All right. She is Darlene Senger. She is the Republican nominee for state comptroller come November 6th. You can get more information on her campaign, Darlene Senger, Senger, DarleneSanger.com. Darlene, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.